the Smiths and Depeche Mode were the two bands that were like absolutely embraced by the Hispanic community completely, which I don't understand, because they were both like these British bands that were like pushing this almost a femininity or just ambisexuality, and it was really, really strange. But I think important because it's completely changed the youth culture that's happening right now for Latin kids. At the time, I would like get a transfusion just to have like English blood in me, because I've never liked the United States, and it was just all about England. It was like every band that I worshipped was from England. I loved the culture, or what I had known about it. It was kind of just like a huge fan of it.
I guess I'm an Anglophile. I don't know, because everything, like all of my favorite bands are basically British, I mean most of them are, or they're like from Australia or somewhere else. They're definitely usually not from America though. So I guess it's sort of also like a fascination with this other culture that produces this amazing music. These people are so bored of what's going on around them that they have to make something this special. I mean, I know that this isn't like cold, desolate Manchester or anything, but I think that it's very similar in its own way, because I don't know, I hate the sun, and that's all that LA is, the sunshine all the time.
It's very like fashionable and hip to think about London, or to think about, well, I don't know about Manchester, but to think about London.
When Morrissey asked the crowd at one of his shows at the Wiltern Theater, "How are things in San Bernardino?" he was doing more than making idle chatter. He was acknowledging the geography of his grassroots audience. During the hiatus of Morrissey's career, the region where his fame was the greatest stretched from East Los Angeles, Boyle Heights, and Highland Park in the west to San Bernardino and Riverside in the east. This corridor along the 10 and 60 freeways is the eastern edge of the Los Angeles metropolis, formerly irrigated agricultural land, then a center of heavy industry, now old and new suburbs. Unlike the West Side or the Hollywood Hills, this region is rarely chosen to represent Southern California in movies or television programs, perhaps because it offers a better sense of what it is actually like to live in the region. There's a lot of pollution, terrible traffic, but real estate is more affordable the farther east one travels, and development has not quite obliterated all the buildings of historic interest. Most of the population is Latino, and several cities have Asian majorities. The outlying area of the region is called the Inland Empire, but its boundaries are vague and there is no emperor. Audiences all over the world see an image of Southern California in Beverly Hills 90210 or the OC, but the true hotbed of youth culture is more likely to be Pomona 91766 or the IE.
I think it's funny that he's so far away from us, but he's just like us. There's really nothing different, besides the fact that he doesn't speak Spanish.
He does have such an affinity for Mexican people. That's pretty genuine. But, you know, it could be just a like. Who knows?
The music's really melodramatic, and it has similarities to Mexican music and also to sort of like oldies, like how oldies have this sort of narrative structure to them that sort of unfolds the story of like love or unrequited love, or just the sort of drama of everyday life.
Morrissey, being of Irish descent, living in England, is a lot like a person living in the United States being of Mexican descent. A certain amount of alienation from the world that they have to live in. The Irish are famous for being Catholic, so are the Mexicans, you know, highly Catholic upbringing. The English embraced rockabilly music, and Mexicans here have embraced rockabilly music, probably a little bit more because lots of Mexicans go back to like oldies, 50s, classic cars, because it's a time that they've sort of adopted as their own for their own like cultural style.
The media have paid a lot of attention to the Hispanic Morrissey fans, particularly in Los Angeles. What do you have to say about that?
I don't like it one bit. To be honest, I hate the attention that just draws it. I hated it when it came out in 2000 in the LA Times with the hooligan article, and ever since then the media has been jumping on that, especially over there in London and the BBC. Ugh. How we're labeled as Morrissey's only Latino fans, and it's just horrible.
Why is it horrible?
Because they label us. They think we're all Mexican.
Yeah, and you're not Mexican.
Sure not. I'm a full-blooded Peruvian. Born and raised there. For 3 or 4 years, and then I came here in '85.
I just think they're taking it like they're just blowing it up, something that's not. I think because LA is the biggest fan base, but yet LA has a lot of Hispanics, so you know maybe that's why there's so many, because it's just so many. The population here is basically Hispanic. Like Anglos are like the minority now in Los Angeles.
Morrissey does sing some songs about alienation and feeling like you don't belong, and there's a lot of my friends that felt that way, that do feel that way, that you know, not to put the country down too much, but it's like, you know what, I work and I work and I work to do something good in this country, you know, to get a good education, to get a good job, and I still feel like I'm being held back, and I'm still not getting all that I deserve, you know. This land is mine and it owes me a living, and they're not getting it, and so there's certain feelings of frustration that they're not achieving with all that they should, and Morrissey taps into that.
Do you think that the fans have anything in common? That there's any kind of experience that unites them?
I would say mostly it's teenage angst that we all have, and Morrissey just he sweats all of that out of his body and his music, and it just really shows, and we get drawn to that.
We all get hurt in a certain way where he's the one that heals the wounds in a way, you know, like you could go through so many things in your life, and yet he's the number one person that's always there for every single thing, not to scold you, not to judge you, but just be there.
Of course, the Morrissey scene has to be more dramatic because we're labeled as the horrific children, I suppose.
The horrific children?
Who are always sad and depressed and lonely and all that good stuff.
One part of Morrissey's stage show that the Sweet and Tender hooligans do not imitate is the moment when Morrissey throws his shirt into the crowd. Audience members grab for it, and in the resulting melee, the shirt is usually shredded into tiny pieces. I tried in vain to find fans who would show me a piece of Morrissey's shirt. Perhaps I was suspected of wanting a bit of someone's prized possession for myself. It took me months, but I finally found Manuel, who not only had 3 fragments, but also 1 entire shirt. As he was describing his struggles over these precious bits of fabric, I thought for a moment that I was hearing a description of some sort of brutal, ecstatic ritual. In fact, the ancient Greeks had a word for it. The boyfriend of one of my interview subjects looked it up for me in his lexicon. Sparagmos. 1. A tearing, rending, mangling. From Euripides. 2. A convulsion, spasm. From Sophocles. Sparagma, sparagmatos. A piece torn off. A shred. Mangled corpses. From Sophocles.
He did a show. This was during his Oya Esteban tour. He was playing in Las Vegas, and I timed it so perfectly. You should have seen it. I waited till most of the security was off in one side of the stage, dealing with this part of a crowd. And I said, well, now's my chance. So, man, I just climbed up there, and people were helping me, people were pushing me up, because that's just what we do, And it just felt like slow motion, And you get to that moment, and then you reach out, and then he's reaching out too, because he knows that you're not going to get that long. And you never wanted to let go. You never, ever wanted to let go.
You get this surge of, just calmness comes over you. At first, you're you have all this adrenaline, and you're, pumped to do it, and then you just see those, blue eyes staring at you and singing, and, just a little fraction of, his finger I could touch, and I'm like, that's all I wanted. It was completely worth camping out 10 hours in the hot sun to be here and to just do that.
Yeah, I'm shaking as we speak, just talking about it. It's so, wow.
It's very overwhelming.
It's almost speechless, you can't even explain it. It's a phenomenon. It's amazing.
It's you almost see the birds flying behind him in the background, and the clouds open, and it's just amazing. It's amazing, I wouldn't replace that for anything in the world.
We're quite conflicted, I think, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's a sort of a release. It's okay when we're listening to Morrissey, because when we're pushing and fighting and trying to get up to that stage to throw our arms around him, it's not a sexual thing. We're going up there because for that moment we want to express to Morrissey how grateful we are for what he's for what he's provided to us.